Tarun, is it like we'll go by use case, or we'll learn the concept and then go for the use case? I mean, how are you structuring the course?
Yes, yes. Right. So we'll be covering concepts and side by side, we will be doing interview problems. So focus is to get you comfortable in interview, system design interview. So we'll be covering the interview problems. Focus will be, and in that process, you will be covering a lot of concepts. Right.
Thanks.
But we'll be giving a lot of emphasis on the concepts as well.
Thank you.
So let me quickly tell you the overall structure of the course, what all we will be covering, right? So let me keep this aside for the time being. Yes, right. So what we will be covering is, let me highlight at the top first. So we covered about what is system design and what is goal of system design, why system design interviews you get. And we also covered about what is the process of system design. So basically, this is all about system design. So this is introduction to system design, which we covered last time. Now, next thing is we will be covering low-level design. And in low-level design, we will also be covering some concepts. So for example, solid principle. There is a principle, keep it simple, stupid. So KISS principle. Then we will cover dry principle and some other best practices, which is Yagni principle, etc. And then we will be covering design patterns. So basically, this is all about refactoring code. Right. So this could be helpful for you in system design interviews. Sometimes in some companies, for example, in Google, you may also get code review interviews. So this is helpful. Low-level design topics are helpful in that. And then we have topics on high-level design. In high-level design, you have we will go through the process of high-level design. We will be doing a lot of exercises. You will understand. Basically, we will be learning about component diagram, how to create component diagrams and how to design a system, and what are various important interviews and questions. In this process, we will also cover about, so we already covered some concepts. One was cap theorem, which has to be utilized in most of the system design interviews. And we will also be covering about various, I would say, right, analyses. Analyses means scalability, right, availability. So we should understand what is all these. Reliability, all these. No, we have to deal with a lot of ITs, right? Reliability. We will also be covering around performance, and yes, we will be covering about security, fault tolerance. We will cover about backup, restore. We'll cover around disaster recovery, what is some best practices around this. So these are some concepts you should be aware of. And when you are designing system, you should be taking care of all these qualities, right? This and Is it visible properly to all of you? If I need to increase the font size, let me know. I can increase, right? Yes, so hope this is visible to all of you. Now, we discussed the process. High-level design, when we did it using following process. First is, as we do the requirement gathering. Right. Next is, in requirement gathering, we also clarify requirements. And there are two kinds of requirements: functional requirement, non-functional requirement. Now I will start asking questions. Who will tell what is difference between functional requirement and non-functional requirement? Anyone? Right? No one knows about what is functional and non-functional requirement. Keep interacting, keep talking, keep yes, go ahead.
Yeah, functional requirements means like mostly about the business scenarios, like what the business requirements about how to, I mean, whether it's whatever the domain it is, it's more about the specific to the project business.
Correct.
Whereas non-functional would be more about the technical things, like how to coming about all this load availability, all this technical aspects will come into picture.
Perfect, perfect. Nice. So all the requirements which is related to these analyses is non-functional requirements. Functional requirements are the requirements which are about functionality of the system, right? But in system design, you should understand functionality is less important. The qualities or analyses are more important, right? So we'll highlight this. I'll put here some special highlight. Yes, I'll put some lines here because this is very important. Yes. Okay. So then we have around 25 sessions. So don't worry, these topics, if you are getting, the list is growing, don't worry, we will have enough time to cover, and we will cover these with practical examples, because understanding the concept is important, first part, but second part is you should be able to confidently answer in the interview, right? So which is our primary focus? Our primary focus is to make you clear system design interviews, right? And definitely, when you will be able to gain the expertise to clear system design interviews, you will have solid foundation in system design concepts, and you can also use them in your projects. So this will be useful for you as an architect or as a senior software engineer as well, because we will be working on some problems, and these problems gives you practical experience of designing systems which you can apply in any system design. Then a few more topics we will be covering. We will be covering about microservices. We will be covering around containerization, because that's another important concept about Docker and containers. Then we will also be covering about CI/CD. CI/CD is also known as DevOps. And you will be also be working on project. So I can guide you to give you a project, because very important thing is you should have experience in some cloud technology as well, because all the systems which we will be designing are designed using cloud, right? So we'll be learning about cloud, and you should learn also about Yes. So in case you don't have experience in cloud technology or experience in building large scale application, I highly recommend to try a project. So we can do a project work also. Yes. So basically, if you see the system design involves a lot of concepts from various topics. For example, operating system fundamentals. You should have networking fundamentals. You should have database concepts. This is DBMS. You need to know about distributed computing, right? And of course, data structures algorithm is there, and all the concepts, programming concepts, object-oriented design, right? These are the topics which we will be covering up. Yes. Any questions, doubt on this overall outline for the course, what we will be covering in next 25 classes? This is primary topics. There will be many more subtopics also, right? And there will be many problems also. I will also give you the list of problems which we will be covering. But yes, let me know if you have any questions around these topics. Is it good? Okay, someone wants to cover Kubernetes. Yeah, we'll be covering Kubernetes as well. In containers, so you will be covering about Kubernetes also. But yes, that's not very much important in system design, but you should have a conceptual understanding. But yes, in project, I would recommend that you use Kubernetes, and we can do some practical, I can kind of give you good information about how to do a product, how to build a system using Kubernetes. Right? Now, programming language, whichever programming language you are most comfortable with, please you feel free to use that. We will be covering that programming language. But mostly these concepts are programming language agnostic, right? So just mention what all programming languages you are most comfortable. So I would ask everyone, please put down which is the programming language you are most comfortable with. Okay, I see Java. Yeah, mostly Java. What else? Yeah, Ramesh knows two, but which one? Python or C#? Choose one. Again, yeah, Dilly, also choose one between Python and C#, between JavaScript, right? So yes, just choose one. That should be good enough. Okay, so I see, yes, various programming languages, because yes, I see Java, JavaScript, we see Python and C++, right? These are the programming language which you guys know. Yeah? So we'll be covering using these programming languages. Yes, Java, C, C++, even C#. These are some programming language you can use to code. You can build projects using these, right? So feel free to choose. I'll be able to guide you in any of these programming language. I know all of them, right? So no problem with this. So this you can utilize by utilizing your projects, system design project. Right? From the problems which we will be covering, you can feel free to choose a project from the problems which we will be covering. For example, if someone wants to build TinyURL as a project, yes, feel free to do that. This is one idea. There could be many other exercises, questions which we will be solving together that can also serve as the topic for your project. You can pick any of these topics as your project topic. Yes.
One doubt, do
Sure, go
front-end
ahead.
developers will have similar, I mean, system design question will be different or how it will be?
For repeat.
Front-end developers.
For front-end developers, yes. So for front-end developers, you will have more focus on the front end. And but yes, you need to know the entire system design, because front end needs to interact with backend. So yes, it is important for everyone, whether a front end developer or a backend developer, that they go through all the concepts. They should be aware of all these concepts. Right? It's not that, okay, if you are a front-end developer, then you have to know nothing about database, or you have to know nothing about REST APIs, or you have to know nothing about any other distributed concepts or networking. Because yeah, front-end will interact with database, front-end will interact with REST APIs. So you should be aware of, you have to pay attention to all these topics. Very you have to, all of you have to be paying attention to all the topics. These will be very valuable for you, whether you are a full stack developer, backend developer, or a front end developer. But yes, for front end, you would need more understanding of front end frameworks as well. So in the project, you can focus on building good understanding of. Now, in the front end frameworks, you have React, Angular, and Vue. These are the two important these are the three most popular frameworks, right? I would say companies may choose any. Most of the companies are either working in React. React is most popular. Angular JS, second most popular, and third is Vue.js. Yes, so you should know any one of them. No need to cover all of them, right? So I'll put specifically here or and or, right? We will be covering design principles for front-end development as well.
One thing just wanted to ask Tarun, the analytics what you have written, for example, scalability, availability, and all those stuff.
Yes.
So these are actually kind of a non-functional requirement, right?
Absolutely, absolutely right. Yes, these are all non-functional requirements. Good. Yeah, so these are all non-functional requirements. This is all, I will highlight this again. These are all the non-functional requirements. These are the most important thing. You should understand them, these very thoroughly, right? Now, let me ask one more question. What is difference between performance, latency? There is another term, throughput, right? You should be aware of all these terms. When do you say a system is high performing?
When it takes less time to process any input.
Yes, yes. Mostly it is taking less time to process. So performance is good if the response time is less, correct? But there is another thing which is about throughput. Can anyone tell about what is throughput?
Number of transactions per second.
Yes, right. Absolutely. So the volume of data a system is able to process, because if you have to deal with high data volume, then you need more throughput, right? And then latency. What do you mean by latency? Can there be the performance is high, but latency is less? No, sorry, low latency. We should always try to have low latency. But can it be the case that performance or response time is very less, but latency is very high?
It can happen over the network where if your like data is taking a lot of time to transfer to your client.
Okay. But performance at the same time could be good, right? So response time could be very less. Latency is low when, assume, you're watching a live cricket match. When would you say latency is high? Has it anything to do with the performance? So if suppose you are watching it in YouTube, see, pay attention. This is very important topic you should be aware of, and you should be able to differentiate between all three things. So response time is less. That means you open the YouTube, the match started playing, right? You are seeing, yeah, bowler bowling, batting, batsman hitting the shots and all. You are seeing it smoothly. Performance is very good, right? Throughput is if you are able to do a lot of performance, a lot of transactions, then that is throughput, right? You don't worry about it here. Many people are watching. So if everyone is able to smoothly watch, then the throughput of the backend system is high. But the performance is good. Latency, maybe you are seeing 1 minute older. The match is not exactly you are seeing as live. You are seeing the video which is delayed by 1 minute, right? This is latency. Yeah. So latency is high in this case because the delay is there. 1 minute older thing you are seeing. You are not seeing the current thing. So here latency is high. What you would like to achieve is match should also be coming with a less delay, minimum delay as possible, as well as the performance of the match. Video should also be smooth. Yes. So these are two important things. You have to ensure that both of them are there, right? Other example is you are checking the stock price, right? Maybe there is some financial application. It's showing the stock price, or you have a bank account, right? In your bank account, money is getting credited. A lot of friends, it's your birthday. Everyone is sending you through UPI, lot of money, right? Everyone is sending you gifts. Someone's sending 100, 200, 500. If latency is high, you will not see the immediate money getting transferred to your account, right? You will be, maybe your friend is saying, yes, I have transferred 100 rupees to your account. But yes, you will not see it in your account. That means latency is high. Maybe the performance of site is very good. You open your net banking, your account opens, it shows you the transactions, but it is not showing you the current transaction. That's about latency, right? Same could happen in WhatsApp also, or Gmail also. You send an email to someone, but yes, Gmail is opening very fast, but recent mail are coming, not coming. Yeah, they are delayed by 1 minute, 2 minutes. So I believe now everyone understood latency and performance, difference between these two.
I have doubt. That is data inconsistency, right? Is that the latency or data inconsistency?
Yes, yes, correct. This is about inconsistency also. Okay, good. Yeah, nice. We have to talk about inconsistency, right? So this is also inconsistency, but inconsistency, we generally say that data is updated, deleted, yes, then there is inconsistency. Yes, but yes, they are also similar stuff. Yes. So someone deletes some information, right? Or inconsistency is all about, okay, now there is a difference. There is an important difference. I am giving, when I gave a deep thought, I got one important important difference. See, let's talk about cricket match score, right? Cricket match score is, assume every one of us are seeing the cricket match. We are checking their score. If everyone is seeing that the score is same. This is consistent, right? It may be older score, right? It may happen everyone is seeing 1 minute or 2 minute old scores, but everyone is seeing the same. This is consistent, right? So again, see, there is a difference between inconsistency and latency. So everything is consistent because you are seeing that, okay, maybe Australia is 450 for 7. Yes, so everyone is consistent on this, correct? But assume that one batsman got out, right? But yes, some of you are seeing that, yes, this batsman is out. Some are not seeing that this batsman is out, right? Now you are having a fight, right? Someone says, okay, no, this batsman is out. Someone is saying it's not out. Yeah, because probably the data have not got updated for someone, but who is the right one, right? Very difficult to believe. Yes. Now in this example, maybe, yeah, if 2 people are checking a stock price and they are seeing different values, who is right? How will you find out? Right? In cricket match, you know that, okay, over, everyone will say, okay, this is as of maybe say 45th over, other one will say, no, this is for 46th over, or this delivery, I know the data. So you can tell the latest one is the most updated one. But stock prices, right? Someone is seeing that, okay, this is maybe 4,900, some stock price. Other one is saying, yeah, it is 5,000. Now you don't have any way to figure out which one is the correct one, right? Timestamp is one way you can figure out, but sometimes, yeah, if timestamp is not there, you cannot say which one is the correct one. Say if there is 2 files also, if there is inconsistency, which one is the correct one, you never know. Yes. So this is about inconsistency. Now it's clear what is inconsistency. So consistency is important. Yeah. Now inconsistency is never a desirable principle, but we will cover about this in transactions and it will be very clear to you. Are you all able to understand this at least? Okay, now let me talk about what are the problems we will be covering. Yes. So let me come to write down the problems which we will be covering. What are various common system design interview questions? This, if you know, then you can start thinking about, yes, I should find how these systems are designed. Yes. So I'll give you some examples of some. There are many system design questions which we'll be covering. First one is the current one, which we are covering is TinyURL, is also called URL shortener, right? Okay, this is too big, but yes, I will put like this, or yeah, this should be reasonable, right? So TinyURL will be designing Gmail, right? I'll also ask you to attempt paste bin, right? These are, now you will ask, what is paste bin? Yes. Okay. So you can search about paste bin, Gmail, Google Docs. These are different systems, right? But yes, Gmail is an email application, how to design that. We will be covering, say, OneDrive or Dropbox. These are all systems which have a similar design. Yes. You will be covering S3 or cloud storage, how to design distributed file storage. Right. This is another kind of system design problems. Then we will be covering applications like stock exchange, right? So what are various kinds of stock exchange application? Say Zerodha, or there are many other stock exchange applications, right? So BSE or NSE, yeah, any other stock application we can think about designing. We can design GitHub, system design of GitHub, or how to design lead code, right? These are stock brokers also. How to design stock broker. These are different kinds of systems. Yeah. We will be designing payment gateways like UPI, Paytm, GPay, PhonePe, etc. Yes, this is all we will be covering. And then what else?
Hotstar.
Yes, we will cover Hotstar. We will cover, yes, maybe Netflix is again same, or Sony Live. These are all live streaming systems. Yes. Now YouTube. YouTube is another kind of system. It's different from Hotstar. Hotstar has less movies. Netflix also has less movies. But YouTube have a lot of video content. Yeah, you can upload also. But in Hotstar, Netflix, you cannot upload the content. So
Zoom.
Yes, Zoom is another system which we will be discussing. These are all different kinds of platforms. Zoom.
Ola,
Social
Uber.
networking, Twitter, Facebook.
Yes, yes. Right. So social networking systems, like what is the system design of Facebook, Instagram, okay, Twitter. Right. So this is about news feeds. And then, yes, you said it right.
Booking systems.
Yes, that's right. So see, we will be covering about Uber, Ola, yeah. And we'll be covering about Google Maps. All these systems are different kinds of systems.
Book My Show.
Yes, just a minute. So I'm just making it more easy for you to refer. And also I will be sharing all this to you. So when I share it, it sort of also be looking good to you, right? So yeah, let's see. Yeah, the two columns are required. That's why I print. So what else you said? Yes. Arogya Setu. Yes, good. Good. Yes. You can have this all the app for vaccination or no. Yeah. CoWIN, right? CoWIN app. You can design IRCTC app also, right? Booking app. So basically there will be some booking apps. Yeah. Don't worry about too many problems, because concepts you can apply. When I will give you design of good amount of variety, you will be able to design many other systems in a similar fashion. So do not worry about, okay, don't say, oh, I just covered Google Docs. I did not cover OneDrive or Dropbox. Yeah, the design will be very similar, right? So you have to just understand that what are the differences, what are different non-functional requirements which are required in these systems. Yes. So make my trip or
some live scorecard kind of Crick for Crickbus or something.
pardon?
Cricking for Crickbus, like live scorecard kind of.
Yes, yes, ClickBuzz, right? These are other kinds of systems. And then most popular systems are Amazon e-commerce app, right? And now you can say Flipkart is also same, and various other Myntra and all, right? So these are various kinds of system design problems. We'll be also designing search engines, Google search, right? We'll be covering this also. Someone can do a practical project also on designing any search engine. And so all these things, a clone of these websites, you can try developing yourself. This could be a practical project. Yes, you'll not be implementing everything, but you can implement. Say, for example, if I say implement WhatsApp, need not have to implement all the features of WhatsApp because it has video call, audio call, group chat, one-to-one chat. But yes, you may decide that, okay, I'll only implement chat functionality. So you can implement like that, right? Or you want to implement UPI, you can implement that. You can choose any of these applications as your project, simplified version of, so that you get an understanding of practical aspects of system design. Yes. Definitely you need front end and back end both. So the option is, few people will say, okay, I know only front end, I don't know back end, or other way around may be also true. You may collaborate with each other, right? So I would highly encourage if you people can form a group and learn from each other and do end-to-end project by collaborating with each other. Great. Enough, or you need more? Right, so these are the problem. Maybe we will also be covering something like
Can we form a group? That case, like what?
yes, you can form, definitely, right? It is
Okay.
good because then you can focus on some area as per your expertise, back end or front end, or if someone is full stack, then he can do by himself. But if you are not a full stack developer, then you need to collaborate, right? Because otherwise learning new technology, it will be too much for you. Right? So yes, these will be various kinds of problem we'll be covering. If you have any other topic, you can suggest. I'll be happy to cover it. Right? So now all happy, you have the list of topics which we'll be covering throughout the curriculum and also list of problems which we'll be covering. Right, so I'll write here problems, because this is problems, and then this is your topics. Which topics or concepts which we'll be covering. Yes. Any questions on this? Suggest any new thing if you have, feel free to suggest, we'll cover that. Yes. Looks doable in 25 classes. Yes. So in next 2 months, you will be doing all this. You will be learning all this. Okay. Yeah. Other systems are ChatGPT, online betting system. Okay. Online auction site. Yes. That we can put. Good suggestions. Okay. Someone wants to learn about ChatGPT also. Okay. We'll cover. This is more for people who are interested in machine learning and data science. So if you are applying for machine learning positions, How many of you are in data science and machine learning? Please tell. Just write your expertise. So you may write front-end developer, right? So just say front-end, or say backend if you are backend developer. Full stack developer can write full FSD, and you may write DSML as data science ML. So can any of you, all of you, share what is your expertise? Right? How many of you are front end, full stack, back end? How many are data science and ML engineers? Because for them it is important. They should know ChatGPT. They should know designing a recommendation system, right? Which is when you are watching videos, YouTube, etc., you get recommendation of what is to watch next. Recommendation engine is used in many applications. For example, when you are using LinkedIn or using Facebook or Twitter, they suggest what kind of people you should follow. There is a recommendation. And recommendation could be around a lot of other areas. In Amazon also, when you buy something, you also get recommendation. You would like to buy other items as well. So these all things we have to cover. But I don't see yet anyone in full stack, in ML and data science, right? So we'll see if time permits, we'll cover it, because maybe some of you would like to upskill it, but do not worry. This will not come for you in system design interview, right? So this part is for you optional, because it will not come if you are not a data science or ML engineer, right? Okay. If no further question, let's start into the low-level design topics. Right? So let me talk about in low-level design, what to do. We decided that there will be 2 APIs in our previous class. Yes. Let me try opening this sheet again so that I can share you that. Yes, what was our design in the last time and API design? Yes. So if you see here, so now you all should be able to view this, correct? Now, if you see, we decided 2 APIs. One is create TinyURL. So this is the signature, and then get original URL. So you have to implement these 2 functions. How would you implement this? This is what is all about low-level design interview. We'll drill down into what is the process of designing any application. Where do you see complexity? Yes. So who would like to attempt this low-level design question of TinyURL? Let me know. Because if someone is having the answer, please feel free to share. We will discuss and I will provide feedback on that. Anyone wants to lead this discussion about how to design TinyURL? Okay, Padmini, I see. Yes, you would like to suggest? Yeah, how will you approach? Assume you are in an interview. I am the interviewer. I asked you this question. that provide me low level design of TinyURL.
Hey, good evening, everybody. Um, so the way, maybe we could start off is, the functional requirement is that given a URL,
Yes.
the first is going to be that it has to be shortened. How short, maybe is that a requirement? I don't know. Maybe we can see if that's a
Right.
requirement.
I gave you last time that we'll have 5 billion URLs over, right? So now what would be the algorithm you will use to shorten the URL?
Yeah.
So if you can get, say, a long URL, long URL may be of, say, 500 characters, right? Up to 500 characters. And what would be the size of short URL? What you would like to?
Yeah, so maybe we could say it's around 25 to 30 characters. Would that be a short acceptable one?
No, that won't be an accepted one. The short would be very less. No, it should be less than 10 characters.
10.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
10. Yes.
Okay.
Can you do that for 5 billion unique URLs?
No.
How to calculate that? Yes.
You could
Now, important thing is you have to, so in URLs, right? Give some examples of URL. Say, for example, the URL which I gave you to, which contains the notes of previous session. This is one URL, right? Okay. But yes, this is not exactly the complete one. Complete one is having, say, some more characters there. Okay, just let me, yeah, something it could be like. Yeah, so some big long URL could be, I'm just pasting it here. Right, something like this. It's such a long URL it is. This could be one of your input. Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, there could be many long URLs and TinyURL. If I show you how is the short URL, because this is very important for you to understand. TinyURL is the most popular website for shortening the URLs. Right? Now, here, let me put in some URL. And yes, I got the original URL, which is about session 1, right? This is the notes. This is the notes which I contain. When I click shorten URL, let's see what happens. Yes, you see, this part is common. Yes, has generated this as a new URL. Right? And if I copy this, you see, it is taking me to the drive where I have shared nodes. Yes.
Sure.
So yeah, this is the functionality. And you see here how many 8 characters. This is 8 characters. So given any long URL, you have to generate the short URL. This part is anyway constant.
Okay, got it.
This is same for every other site also. Maybe if I put another URL, this is, but this is the thing which is going to change.
Okay.
We have to write an algorithm. Given this URL, you should generate this.
Okay, sure. So from whatever you were showing, so it consists of numbers, capital letters and small letters. So you would have 0 to 9, that's 10 characters. A to Z is 26 characters plus 26 characters. How much is that? 26 plus 52, 52 plus 62. 62 is the
Yeah.
allowed. So so combinations of this would be how much you would want is
Right. Now also allow hyphen and underscore, right? So let's make it 64.
okay, sure. Okay.
Yes,
So you are saying 8 bits is what you want? Eight characters?
you have to decide now how many
Hmm.
characters would you need, because 5 billion is lesser is better, right?
Yeah.
More
So
shorter
let's
is more convenient.
sure.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what
So
can we calculate? How many
Hmm.
characters we need? Whether
so
it's
64. So let's say if it was 1, we can only do 64 characters, correct? If it's so if 1.
right.
If it's
Correct.
2, it will be 62 to the power of 2. So it will be like 64 to the power of 2. Sorry.
Yes.
That will be some number. So maybe that's in thousands. I'm thinking. Yeah, 64 to the power of 2. Mhm.
Yes.
And
64
then
is 4096, right? Because
okay,
64 is 2 to power. Now, how to
6
do?
to the power of 2.
Yes.
If you use 2 characters, it would be 2 to the power of 64,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So now you have so if you go something like this, maybe 4 would be somewhere in terms of million, which would be like not so maybe 5 or 6 would be in terms of billions, I guess.
Yeah. So I am doing this calculation for you.
Okay.
If you use 6 characters,
Uh-huh.
this is the number you will get.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Which is around billion. Yeah. So which is more than 5 billion what we saw. Okay,
Yes.
fine. So maybe we'll keep it as 6 then.
Yes. But
Yeah.
if you take 5, right? So 5 is, I will tell you, because you have now choice, like if you take 5 characters, then this is the number you will be getting. Yes, 64 to power 5.
It's
Is
1 billion.
everyone getting
1
this?
billion. Yeah.
Yes,
1
1
billion.
billion,
It's
not
1 billion. So
sufficient.
it's not, yeah. So
Not
you will not
sufficient.
be able to get
So
yeah.
we need to at least take 6 characters, and there's
Yeah.
nothing in middle, right? So either you take 5 characters or 6 characters, right?
Sure.
So has everyone got this calculation correctly? Why this is right? 64 into 64 into 64. Because if you have a 6-digit code, right, for URL, for short URL, you will be able to not 6-digit, this is 6-character code. You will be able to represent these many unique URL, right? Which is basically, we don't bother about all these things, 68 billion, right? Which is good enough. Because with 5, we were getting 1
billion.
What
1
is the
billion.
significance of this number, please?
How to get this number, right? This is
No.
mathematics.
Question is, I mean, like, what is the significance of finding this number?
The significance is something like this, right? So you can only represent the numbers in terms of characters, which would be A to Z, 0 to 9, if it's only English, if you're saying, and of course he added underscore and the dash, right? So
Yes.
if you see, so using only this only, we can form that shortened URL.
Yes,
Now,
and
if
you
you
have to give the code also, right? So the output, what you need to return, you need to know how many characters you will need, right? And you generate this code.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you used so Naveen, I think so if you used just one alphabet, one character to represent, so you could only do 64 because they're all unique. So you can only scale to 64 URLs, right? So that's what we were calculating. So if you use 2, how much would we do? If you use 3, how much? So 5, we came to 1 billion, and for 6, I think we are a good 68 billion, which meets our requirement. So we could probably
So
stick to
let's
6.
choose 6 as our
Sure.
number. So we will
Sure.
be giving any URL. So assume if I give some URL, let me.
So just wanted to understand one thing here before moving. So as we are having A to Z and all those things, if you're adding 26 character, then again 26 character, then 10, and then 2. So it is going to be happen 64, right? So 64, it is going to be happen. If we'll talk about character is just only one. If we're going to calculate for 2 characters with same given pattern like A to Z and A to Z
Yes.
capital. So how we are kind of going to say that? Is it something like 2 means 2 to the power that much, or how we actually doing that?
Yes, see this. Yes. So this is this number is this.
Okay, so you're saying 64 into 64.
Yes,
So basically,
because,
if
yes.
there is a 2 character, then we are just saying 64 into 64. That's it.
Correct.
If it is 3 character, then 64 into 64 into 64. Okay,
Yes.
so all the possible combination will be nothing but
using
yeah,
64.
I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
yes,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. See, now Vishal has given very good explanation. He says, for each position, you have 64 options, right? So for 6 characters, this is the number of different possibilities you can generate. Yes, in the URL. Got it? Yes. And also mathematically, this is called
Permutation and
or
combination.
It's
Combination,
a
right?
right permutation, because combination is where your sequence do not matter. But here, this is different URL. Assume A, B, C, D, E, F, right? So you need to not only find any sequence is different, right? All these may represent different. Yeah, these two may represent different URLs, right? So these are permutations.
Yeah, but in simple word, basically we are saying that 64 to the
Yes,
power 1, then
yes.
64 to the power 2 for 2 character.
Correct,
64
correct.
to the
64
power
to
3,
power
like that.
yes. So
Yeah.
yes, should be more than 5 billion.
Mhm.
Yes. And because our requirement is to store 5 billion. Even if it would have been 50 billion, we will be able to do it. Right? Good. Right. Nice. Now give me the algorithm and tell me what is the complexity here. We have 2 methods. One is get tiny URL. So which will take URL. Let's URL is long URL as input. Let me call this short URL. It looks better and decent. And this will also return this URL, right? Everyone able to understand this code? Now you have to give me this code. And here your one test case is you give this as input, this part as input. Output you are getting this part, right? But yes, this is constant, so you can always, but yes, you have to return me this part if I give you any URL. What would be the algorithm you will use?
So here just want to understand that the input will be string, right? And then output will be also kind of string.
Yes, input is a string, output is also a string. Yeah, that's good suggestion. Let me change this type to string. Yes. Yes, no need to use the URL as data type. Yeah, in Java, in various programming language, you get URL as data, a class, right? But yes, you don't need, we can use string here. Yes, this could be the data type. Yes, so what is the code and how will you do that?
So we could use hashing.
Okay, okay.
So we could use hashing
Yeah.
techniques, which would, only thing we have to take care is there's no collision. So if we want to do that, let's see.
So would we go for hashing or encoding base 62 encoding or
Yeah,
what?
base 65 in 64. Base 64 encoding you can use. right?
I mean, how do we? How do we choose between? I mean, hash is also a better approach. I mean, how do we choose between the two?
Yes, right. So how to choose? Yes. Suggest. Are you
So
able
I
to
think,
hear me? Yeah.
so you'll need for base64, you will need some kind of an some kind of an ID, right?
Base
I'm sorry
64,
if I'm
assume.
sorry. I'm sorry. Sorry.
Sorry, I think you are speaking on mute, Tarun.
Okay, just a minute.
Yeah, sorry. Are you
I
able to
can't.
hear me?
Yeah, I'm able to hear you. How about?
Okay.
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Yes, maybe it's little bit breakage was there in between. So
Mhm.
yes, tell me. Yes, what?
So
How to decide the algorithm?
So I'm just going to stick to hashing. I'm not thought through of the base 62, right? So
Sure.
uh
Right, you can use any hashing. Yeah,
yeah,
you
so
are the architect for this, so you have to decide.
yeah. So what probably we can do is we can do some kind of a hash function and it shorten the URL, right? And then this is the general approach, right? So it will shorten the URL, and uh, this is the happy part that I'm going through. We'll have to still see how we'll be addressing the collision part. So then then we see that ID does not exist in wherever I'm going to store. It maybe it's a DB key value pair kind of a thing. And then if it's not there, we have to store that with the given whatever ID, right? So that will be the shortened URL to the given URL. So this is a general approach. So if you want to do this with a hashing function, so maybe we'll go SHA-1 or MD5.
Yeah.
But so let's see, if we take 6 characters, so would you think there'll be a lot of collisions is what I'm thinking. So
Yeah, why are there collisions? Tell me.
because you would still have to have the number of characters are whatever they're
Yes,
going to repeat, right? So they're
right,
going to repeat.
right. In case,
So
yeah,
there is
there could
always a
be.
possibility of
Yes,
you would
absolutely.
have a shortened URL which already exists, right?
Yes.
So uh, so we might run into collision, and maybe if then we'll have to if that already exists, and again append some new thing to that, and then again regenerate the hashing or something like that we'll have to do should we come across a collision there. So that might be an issue if we want. If maybe it's going to be a little expensive because this is not a small DB we are talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it's not very effective, I would say.
Correct. See, good point. You should keep noting this. Now we are thinking about how to implement this. Low level design is all about getting into implementation detail, right? But yes, definitely, no, Arun has mentioned good point. We have to also design the classes, right? Classes also, because you have to give the class diagram. Now you should understand, I'm just drawing something here. Before we get into the implementation detail also, I am trying to tell you one more important consideration you should keep, right? So let me see, I can draw somewhere here. Yeah, let me move this. Yes, this is client, right? There will be many clients using this. This application will be available all around the world. Yes. So we will have millions of users. Yes. You have so many users you will be having. You will have a lot of users, and this is your clients, right? And then you will have your, say, we decided last time that we will have a microservice which will say generate short URL, right? This is a microservice we will have, right, for getting short URL. This is what we are designing now. But yes, you should understand that many clients are trying to access this. So there could be concurrency problem, right? There could be concurrent requests. So this application should be able to handle multiple short URL requests, right? So this is first part. Now, can you design the class diagram for it? The other method we had is get original URL.
So if you don't really look at what are the components that that are there, if you just don't go into the big what are comprising, where will these reside, or where the class decide, or without going much into that, if we just want to do so, the first is we want to have a client who is going to check if at all a given URL exists in the DB or wherever that we are going to store.
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
So that is one. So it could be, so you can probably have something called as a query class kind of a thing, right? So where you would actually query for these things. So we could call this as a data access or something, and it would have an equivalent business logic in the API side, which would be a query, which would be exposed to the end user, right? So that's one. So that what that would do is that would have an interaction with the data access layer, which in turn would have access to the DB layer and get you the or date, whether it's DB or cache, wherever we want to, that's going to fetch it from. We could think of that. So there's a data access layer, and then which would check. Now, if it isn't there, so then let's say we will have a very unique class for getting the URL itself. So you can get short URL or something like that, which will actually have the logic for our caching, whatever we decide to do, right? Whether it is MD5, SHA-1, or somebody was saying base 62. So either way, we could do that, right?
Yes.
Now,
this is the design, right? Now, next thing is, okay. Yeah.
So one thing I just wanted to understand, Tarun, before going further. So just want to understand that you have get original URL. So the URL which you are going to directly from the client. Yes. And you are saying that between database and then get original URL, what we have caching. So why we have caching between database and get original URL here?
Yes. Yes. Performance. You need redirection, which is fast, right? So
can't we directly save to database? I mean, it could be
reading. This is about reading, right? This is read of URL.
Okay, this is a read URL, right? Okay.
Yes, because you will be giving the short URL, you will be getting the original URL. So if you can cache it, this will be fast. Otherwise, you will have to query, and you have millions of URLs here, right? We discussed.
Yeah, correct. So basically, like whatever short URL will be associated with the original URL. Yes. So once someone is going to hit the short URL, we have to get the original URL.
Yes.
And so that it will get redirected. Correct. So obviously, yeah, we need a caching in between in case of reading. But in case of saving that URL, right, we can directly save it.
Yes,
so let's suppose
you can do directly, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, when client is coming on let's suppose what you have displayed a TinyURL, right? You have just pressed the long URL.
Yes.
And in that case, they are just creating, clicking on the create button. So that time we are directly saving to DB.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right. Again, database is also cluster. So you will have multiple database instances which is running, right? So So yes, this is going to.
And here I have one more point, Tarun. Maybe like
Yes.
whenever we create new TinyURL, then there might be high chance of getting that long URL. So whenever we write, make sure that we store that in the cache itself. So whenever create that TinyURL, immediately we can fetch the long URL from the cache itself. So even
Okay.
that way
Okay.
also, yeah.
Yeah, it's up to you, right? But
Maybe that might not be a good approach.
yeah,
According to me, you can put it into a message queue. The
correct.
message queue could then be put into, because there could be inconsistency if you put the cache. So only once it is updated to the DB is when you should typically, the cache could update it, because cache is typically going to be a read only kind of a thing. So it should be always be consistent. So maybe
Estimated
the
last time that this data would be around some terabytes, right? It will be around, say, 20 terabytes of information will be there in the database. Cache you will have how much?
Yeah, I mean,
You will
here
have
we have to maintain some kind of cache mechanism like
4 or 5 terabytes of cache,
yeah. So,
right?
so
Because
only
cache is fast memory. In memory, it will be less expensive if you have less cache. So generally, rule is 80-20 rule. So we can use LRU approach. Least recently used is the URLs which will be cached. Yes, because maybe when too much of write is happening, need not be the case that people are reading. I generated a URL, right? No one is reading that URL. Yeah, we just generated. So no need to put it in the cache directly. Put that in cache only when someone is requesting it. Yes, and if it is requested multiple times, then you put it. Got it? Convinced that we can put this directly to the database.
So I just understand one thing, as you mentioned that if database is 20 terabyte, so generally what we are doing, we are just kind of taking it around 4 to 5 terabyte. That means I'm just thinking that it could be around 20 to 25% of the database space we are just putting in, taking the cache space basically. Is that some concept kind of?
Yes, 20% you will cache. Yeah, you cannot cache everything.
Yeah, yeah, of course. So 20 to 25% generally we are taking.
20-80 rule is there. Always 80-20 rule is there. Right?
Okay.
Most of the time, 20% of things are accessed. Right? So you use 20-80 rule for this caching. Yeah.
Okay,
Because,
so 20 will be cached and 80 will not be cached.
yes, will not be cached. Yes. And you use the least recently used caching strategy. Caching strategy. Okay, now
Right.
let me come back here. We will be designing class diagram. Class diagram is important here. Yes. What will be the classes here? Definitely, you will have one class here. I'm writing a class diagram now. Yes. I'm just putting a line here.
So,
yeah,
so Tarun, before going further, I just wanted to understand that why we have taken LRU. There are many different casts. So why we have taken LRU here?
Is recently used because you will have the frequently accessed ones, you will have cached, right? So if something is recently used, there is more likeliness that it will. So this is just one approach. Yeah, there are many approach which you can use. So most frequently used also there is one approach which you cache most recently or most frequently used. There is another approach. What all approaches you know? Tell me what all approaches you know in addition to this. Is my screen still shared?
Yes, yes, yeah.
Okay, good, because yes, I was just double checking. Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Tell me what all, what other approaches you know? Yeah, let's talk about caching.
Yeah, that's what, like, because in the past I have used, I mean, in my company it was used a different caching mechanism. So
What is
that's what
that?
I was just thinking about that. So I think here also, generally I am able to see that, I mean, LRU is very famous. So people are
Yes,
kind of
yes,
taking
right.
it. Yeah.
Yes.
So
Now, there are a lot of caching techniques.
yes.
But in this case, LRU we can use, it is sufficiently good, right?
Yeah. Okay.
But maybe I will cover all the caching techniques in some other class, but just understand that yes, this approach, least recently used approach will be decently good, because you will get good enough performance, right? Basically, yes. With this approach, you can get good performance, because if something is recently used, it is more likely that it will be accessed more, right? I've created this URL, TinyURL today. When I'll be sharing, recently people will access it, but after a few weeks, few months, less people will access. This is just an assumption, and this is how the URLs work, internet work. Most recent articles, they will be read first, and then after time, you will not get that much access, correct? So this is why we are using least recently used algorithm. Now, shall we move to class diagram? Yeah, correct. Most recently. This is called most recently. Now, why I have written least recently? I've said least recently used one will be deleted from the cache. This is called cache eviction. But yes, the cache will contain most recent URLs, and least recent ones will be evicted. So when you add a new URL, if cache is already full, you will remove something which is least recently used. So that's what it is specified here. Understood, Arun? Great. So why it's called LRU? I don't call it. It's commonly used abbreviation, LRU technique. It's called LRU because it's an eviction policy. When you add a new URL, the least recent one will be deleted from the cache. So this is how you prevent caching. Always have information which is most likely to be accessed, right? But yes, if your database is not grown to 4 or 5 terabyte, more than that, you can have everything in the cache. But yes, as your database grows, then you need to remove something from the cache. Yes. Any other? So you were giving some other you were giving some usage of message queue. Why would you need message queue?
Yeah. So let's say if for whatever reason, so now because the DB is hosted elsewhere and we have the URL shortener probably sitting on a web server, if they need to communicate and if there is a onslaught of messages going in, the shortener may, if the DB cannot handle, so rather than putting, so you throttle it and you give this breather for the database, you put a queue which would probably write it to the database once it has a some breather, right? So you don't want to onslaught the database with a lot of requests coming in. So instead of losing the sent request, we could probably forward that to
No,
the
but in this case, this is fine. We can have a load balancer. This is what we will be having. So I'm not
that is
drawing
for
all the details.
receiving that is for receiving your that is for receiving the requests, right? So that's fine. But all I'm trying to say is if you could still scale your web servers and they generate, let's say for whatever reason, they generate a good amount, but the DB is going to be still slower, will be the slowest of the things, right? So definitely
Okay, or putting
eh,
things in the cache, you mean?
not cache, in the queue, I would say, because cache is yeah, you could call it as a message queue so that it will buffer, just so that it can
Okay.
yeah, so that's what I was thinking. Yeah, if you it's a
Sure.
cache or something, I don't know, but
Sure.
it's definitely a
Maybe,
buffer.
yes, maybe if you can draw that design, your design, if you have some other design, right? Everyone, I will ask everyone for TinyURL. We have covered one design, but there could be many correct answers for this. Yes, I would ask you all to attempt whatever you feel is correct. You give me, share me that design. Maybe I will share my email ID to everyone, and I will be good to review all of it, and we can discuss some interesting and good ones also in different classes. So feel free to keep sharing. So I'm just sharing my email ID also. Yeah, I see you people have also created some WhatsApp group. So someone, yes, has shared. Raju has shared. He has
Yes,
created
yes.
the WhatsApp group.
Many people
So
have
we
joined,
can
and few of them is pending actually to be joined.
okay, okay, sure, sure. So in this case, yeah, maybe no, just I will also join it, and we can kind of discuss various questions and various problems related to system design. Is it related to system design or is something else?
System design actually.
Only system design? Sure.
Yeah, this class only we have actually done.
Okay, okay, good, good. So feel free to, I will also put my WhatsApp number. Feel free to add me also to the group. Send me just invite, I will join. Great. So I have just shared my WhatsApp number also, and I've shared my email ID also. I guess all of you would have got. Okay, great. So yes, we can keep discussing on different aspects, but for this session, as we are covering some concepts and going further, I will suggest this is the design. This is decent design. If you give to the interviewer, he will have a good understanding that you are having the right skills to architect this system, and this is a decent design. This will also get you successful in system design interviews. Now let's talk about class diagram, because before we writing the code, as a developer, as a good developer, we should have a habit of writing the class diagram, designing the classes. Yes. So let me call one class. Yes, anyone wants to give attempt? How many classes will you have here? What all functionalities we have? How to do the class design? How to define the class diagrams, right? See, you need to store TinyURL, right? So you will given long URL, return TinyURL. This is your one functionality. Then given TinyURL, return original URL, right? I will call this for also long URL, original URL, same thing. And then redirect to original URL. So these are the functionality. One functionality is redirect. See here. Yes. And these are the two methods we already said. Get short URL. We already designed this, right? And get short URL. Redirect. Okay. So let's identify the methods from our. Yeah, there is a redirect method. There is get original URL method. And then probably you will also need to encode and decode. Yes. So in get, what you do basically, you encode, right? And in this, sorry, get here. got this. Right. Yes. So here you do encode, get short URL, long URL is encoded to short URL. And in this you do decoding. Yes. So basically you may have a helper class here, right? So these are the methods we have decided. Clear? So one is decode method, one is encode method. So the class diagram is basically very simple here. In this case, you may have a helper class. And there could be one main class, which is your, we can call URL shortener. And you can have another class, which you can call, what should we call? Encoder class, right? We can call encoder class, right? In this, we may have this method. Yes. And in this, we may have in this method, right? And in this, you have here and here. Yes. Right. So I'm denoting minus for private class, right? Redirect is anyway called by get original URL class, right? Because it will decode and it will redirect. Yes, like this. Yes. And these are your classes. And these are, there is just association between this, right? Because a URL shortener will create an instance of encoder and will call, maybe this could be static class also because it's a helper class, right? So you can say encoder utility. Yeah, if it could be static class, and you may have a static methods which you may call from URL shortener, or you may create an instance singleton class also. Yes. Data members also you can define. Very good, Arun. See, I'm very much impressed with the way you are interacting. You are giving good insights. Yes, you can put data members also. What data members will you have here? See, something more is required. You are missing here. How will you interact with the database? Yeah. So database interaction is also required. So we need something for database also. So let's come to the members. What data members would you need? Give me some list of data members. What would you need?
URL class.
Which is anyway the parameter, right? Get you original URL. You will have a URL or a string, right? Which is long URL or original URL. Sorry, this is for TinyURL. So you will give short URL as input. And here you will give, basically, you give short URL, you get long URL. You give long URL, you get short URL. Yeah, this is how the function works. So you have the parameter. You don't need any variables here or members, data members, right? Maybe you need some, which could be, I would say, DB connection, right? You need a DB connection. This is your data connection, right? Because what you also need to do is get the DB connector basically. And I would suggest the way you can do is have another class which is for handling the databases. So let's say DB utility, right? And this takes care of, yeah, so you don't need actually basically this also. We can create everything related here. Here you have connection, you have say get connection, right? So this is, and then you have execute, right? So basically what you will do is you will write to the database. So what may be the method we should name for writing to the database? Any suggestion? Inside data. Yeah, that is good.
Save URL.
Save URL. Okay, yeah, you can use all these names. Looks good to me. Yes. So maybe, yeah, you can have one method. I will call it save, right? We'll say save, which will save the URL to the database. Correct? Save, or you can say put, or yes, there could be one read method also, which will read the database, right? So these are the two things which you need. When you say save, so in the save method, you will put, yeah, basically in database, okay. Yeah, I like this one, insert, because that sounds more like a database operation, ID, but yes, all options were good. ID and the original URL you would need to pass, and you need to pass in the read, you will pass ID. Basically, ID is the short URL, right? So here you pass the short URL. So there is a key value pair which we are storing, right? It's just two columns we are storing. ID, which is the short URL, and then original URL is the long URL. And read is you read the original URL by giving the ID or short URL. Yes.
The insert part I'm not able to understand. Like here we are passing both the URL to insert.
Yes.
So why is that? Like
why both? Because both you have to store in the database. Yes. Now you give the database design. Let's discuss that. This is your database. Yes. The table, what we call this table.
So it is not like that insert for the original will be a different insert, and in you know, for Tiny will be, it is a different insert, or I mean, because here I can see in the same function both the things is there. Because let's suppose someone is trying to enter that URL original one. So first it will generate that tiny URL, right? So do you will you be inserting both together, or?
Yes, because you have to read it also later. Yes.
Okay, so it's not like that. First we'll insert the original and then we'll create that tiny one.
Yeah, you will create first first the tiny, and you will insert both together. Why do have multiple calls?
Relationship for like foreign primary.
You should only have one database call.
Okay.
So if suppose this is the URL you generated, so you will store here and you will have the long URL. Let's say long URL is this one, which is, I'm just giving an example. So this is your long URL. I got it a little bit. I'll connect it. Yes, got it. This is your database structure. Yes, of course, you will have many records here, right? So you'll have many records. So this is your database design. Very simple, right? This is your primary key. Let me circle this. This is your primary key. Yeah.
Tarun, I have one doubt.
Yeah, go ahead.
Here we are using string, right? For storing URL.
Yes.
If you wanted to have certain domain name, so if you go with URL class instead of string, it can be extensible, right? If you add new properties to the
Correct.
URL.
Yes. You can add more properties, but always take care. Simplicity is the best design, right? We can keep it as simple as possible because it should work also, right? And it should be simple. If it is simple, it will scale also. It will be high performing also. So I'm keeping things as simple as possible. I'll also recommend you all also. I have seen engineers in Google and engineers in Microsoft, brilliant engineers all across the world. I have seen because I have worked in Europe, I have worked in Canada, I have worked in North America, US as well, in the Silicon Valley also, and in Seattle region also. The best engineers, they work, they create simple design, they do not over-engineer things, right? And if you design simple things, then it will scale, it will be high performing also, right? So now we got the class diagram, we got the database design also, right? These were the deliverables in low level design.
So got a doubt. Do we need to write in the entity class levels?
Yeah, you can draw that entity ER diagram.
Is it actually required? I mean, the entity classes to interact with the DB, should we detail that also in the design?
No, but see here it's very simple, right? Because this is the starting problem. This is a simple problem. Here, if you have to draw a entity relationship diagram, there's only one table. We don't have any relationship. You have two. Yes, ER diagram. This is an important thing which you have mentioned. But yes, I'm showing you, this is how you draw the ER diagram. You should draw ID. You should draw URL like this. Yes, this is a primary key. So you underline this. This is your primary key. This is the ER diagram. Now, many of you would be wondering, what is ER diagram? Can anyone explain what is ER diagram?
It's like entity relationship diagram, basically like whatever the database tables will be there.
Yes.
So between those tables, whatever the relationship and whatever the fields and data type, everything will
Absolutely.
be defining it. Yeah.
Yes. ER diagram or entity relationship diagram describes the database design. It is similar to class diagram, but in database, you don't have methods, right? So that's why this is your class. This is your properties. This is how you represent ER diagram. See, I have given ER diagram. I have given class diagram. Now I have to I've given high level design also. Yes, this is high level design. Now what is remaining is the algorithm. Go ahead. Provide me maybe pseudocode or code also if you want to provide. How will you convert this long URL to short URL? Okay, I see. Wow, good. One person, Vishal, has given some suggestion. He's saying we can generate 6 random numbers, right? And for each of the URL and insert it. Is this good approach? Right? Generate some random string, which is 6 character. I'll give you one approach. Yeah. Yes, you can apply any hashing algorithm also, or you can generate some but yes, how would you generate characters, random characters? Give me the algorithm. You say we can randomly generate 6 characters. Now tell me, how would you generate randomly 6 characters? Using 64 characters and concatenate them together, right? How will you generate random 64 characters? How can you generate random characters? Random numbers I know I can generate. We call, there is a method, right? Random method in Java. Yes, you can create a random class and then you can generate random numbers, right? There is a method for generating random number. Here you can give the range, right? 0 to 64 in all the programming language. In C++, in C#, in Java, in Python, JavaScript, you have class to generate random number. You provide the range, or what it can do is it can generate by default 0 to 1, right? And then what you can do, you can multiply it by, right? So what you can do is, maybe if it's generating you random number, you can multiply it by 100 and then mod of 64, right? Will give you numbers in the range of 0 to 64. Yeah, or better, you can give the range as 64. This is how you can generate random numbers. But how can you generate random characters?
It's something very similar, right? You can say 0 to 64
Yeah,
have symbols.
Absolutely. So what you can do is declare an array of characters, right? So I'll just give you the way. Yes, you are right. Absolutely right. Just let me know if I'm in the right direction, right? So you have this array of characters. Let's say this is my alphabets, right? And I will initialize this like this. Yes, all the characters. Yes, and now what will be done is I will generate a random number and I will, based on that random number, assume this returns me, maybe this call random 64 returns me, say, number 5. Yes. What does it mean? Which number, which character I will generate? This one, 5th character at this particular position, right? Has everyone understood how to generate random characters? Clear? Or not? I think yes, right? So random characters are generated. Okay. What other approach we can use? So what he is saying, you generate 6 times this. Okay, good approach. Actually, this is good approach. But yes, if you can give a even simpler approach, that is also fine. So he is saying you call this 6 times, right? So that means let me get rid of this. Yeah, so I'm just moving this into some area. Yes, random, random 64. Yes. This is some other code. Okay. So yeah, what he is saying, you generate this 6 times. Okay. Call random function. Okay, let's say 64 on 6 times, right? Okay. I'm writing pseudo codes. You can convert this into code by just putting a for loop. So for loop from 0 to 1, and then you will get 6 characters, right? So you can keep appending it in some string, which is TinyURL, right? So you can keep appending it, and each of the characters, you will get some 6 characters, right? Assume you get 4, then you get D, you get, okay, like this you got, right? So 6 characters you got, and this is your string. You will store with whatever is the URL which is being given. Say, for example, someone gave me this, assume this is the URL which is given. This you store in the database, right? And when you have to query, you query this and you return it, right? This is a good approach. Yeah. What is the drawback in this? What if you generate this already exists in the database? Is it possible? Right? Say,
Yes,
you
yes,
generate
it is
this,
possible.
generate, because yeah, see, we are talking about billions of records, right? So then definitely it's possible, and you have to take care of that. Yes. And maybe assume this is used for some other information, right? So let's say, yeah, this is already there for Google, right? If you store now, the database will not insert it. It says that key already, primary key already exists. What you will do in that case? You need to make your system fault tolerant. You need to handle the system, handle the errors. You have to take care of all the errors. So what would you do in this case?
Append some alphabets or some random numbers to the URL again, and again do the
Will
same
out
thing.
of range.
See, your original URL does not determine this random number.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry. Yeah. See, I mixed
So
two
you
of the
just
things. Right.
simply
I can
regenerate.
redo it. Yeah.
Keep
Yeah.
trying it until you are
yes.
successful, right?
Yeah.
This is, you will keep doing this while true, right? While you are able to, yes, able to store it in the database. Yes. And if you are able to store it, then if successfully storing, right, as store it returns you success. Just I'm putting some rough code, but yes, you say break from this loop. Otherwise, you keep doing this until you are able to successfully store it, right?
I actually got a doubt. Let's say I input one URL, let's say https www.google.com.
Yes.
I get an ID, some random ID get. I
Yes.
go on the URL shortener again and I put the same thing again, https google.com.
Yes.
So then I get new ID, right? So let's say 10 users insert the enter the same URL again and again. We tend to generate the same, like we tend to do the same thing again and again, right?
Yes, right. So yeah, again, someone just used Google. Yeah, right. So there could be many entries for google.com. Right. So
is it
anytime
fine?
allow that. No problem with that.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, because as such, there is nothing specified against that, right? So
But I think that's a great point. I think ideally they should get the same URL.
yes,
I mean, same ID,
right,
because
right.
you shouldn't regenerate one because it's already there. So I think that's a fair thing to say. It's an optimization. Yeah.
Yeah, optimization, but you have to do a string comparison, okay? Which could
Yeah,
be
I agree with you.
which
Yeah,
could
yeah.
be costly.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
you have
maybe
to
there
search
could be a
against billions of
reverse
records.
lookup as well. So you could
Yeah,
have a reverse lookup as well, which would actually
correct,
just look at
correct,
the URLs and see that if, yeah, but that's
correct,
a great
correct,
suggestion.
correct.
Yeah.
So
I
it's
agree.
again over engineering, not required. Yes. not required, I would say, just ignore it. Because if you get into these discussions in the interview, see, you're not adding too much of value by doing this.
Yeah, sure.
With this, but yes, you are adding overhead and interviewer may take it as a over engineering. You have to be very careful because the interviewer may misinterpret your requirements and treat it as like over engineering or unnecessary. You are venturing into areas which is not the core use case. Design the MVP, most viable product, right? So if something is within most viable product, do it. Otherwise, don't do it. Yeah. So this is one approach. I'll give you even a simpler approach. You have a counter, right? Every time one URL is requested, increase the counter by 1. Yes. So generate 1. Yes. Generate a URL for base 64 representation of 1. Yeah. So what would be the base 64 representation of 1? Yes, like this. This is your TinyURL code. Do this 2, right? 9 up to 9, you will get this, right? Something like this. So you can keep generating numbers like this, right? Base 64 representation of yes. Then after 9, what will come? A. And so on, right? It will continue like this. Your 63rd digit is, yeah, you actually counter will start from 0, right? Because in computer science, we always start from 0. So you can choose to start from 0. You can start from 1 also, no problem. But yeah, you can do a base 64 encoding. Assume you get some number. Assume many people have used it. Now I got this number, right? Big, huge number. Assume this is less than 5 billion. Yeah, so if this is say 2 billion. So how can you convert this to base 64 number? Right? By repeated division by 64. Yes. So you keep generating the equivalent. This is base 10, right? This is actual number base 10. To convert it to base 64, you keep dividing this and taking modulus of this with 64, right? This way you will get all the digits, all the numbers, and this you will get converted to something like maybe like this. Maybe you will have underscore and 0 and like this. Understood this? How many of you understood this approach? That you just take the number and convert it to base 64 by just taking modulus by 64 of the number. Very simple approach. Yes. In this way, you will not get a collision. The advantage is because you are generating the number 1 at a time, you'll not get the collision because everything is unique. Random, you may get a collision. But only thing which you have to take care is these operations should be done in a synchronized manner. Absolutely. Otherwise, the counter will be overlapping and you will get repetitions also, right? Because at the same time, if 2 people are calling, they will get the same number. So you can synchronize it. So that would be the simplest design. You can implement it in code in JavaScript, Java, Python, whatever, you'll be able to generate this.
I have one doubt here, Tarun. So this value will be stored in the memory, right? The counter.
Yes.
Uh,
Counter
so-
you can store in memory. Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it will be stored in memory, and we have two servers, server 1 and server 2, and both are maintaining this counter value in their memories, right? So a request has come and it hit the server 1. It will increment the counter in its memory, and there is another request came to server 2, and that will has this counter variable in the memory.
Yes.
How will be the synchronization happens? If in case of multiple servers, we are maintaining multiple servers using load balancer, right? So
Yes, yes, right. Correct. So you know the range. Yes, and there are multiple servers. You have to store the counter in the one way I would suggest is store it cache in the cache, the counter, right? So everyone can read here. Basically, there could be one common memory which will store the counter. Yes. Got it? So that everyone reads from this counter. Basically, you can think of this as a database, right? Database contains there could be a table which contains the counter, and it can increment every time when there is a request. Yeah, but I would suggest use a in-memory database because this will increase the performance and will get less load on the database. Yeah, so you can cache this, put it in the database which is accessible to everyone. So there is a counter available here. Yes, actual solution I'll give you. I will tell you actually, if you want to know the actual solution, there's something called Zookeeper, right? So that can take care of ensuring that all the servers are having a counter. This provides a feature of having a counter, but that's not required. You can even use Redis, use a simple database, which is an in-memory database. It just contains the value counter, and you can keep incrementing and incrementing this. Yes, this counter. And the range of this counter is, it is going to be 6 billion, whatever, 5 billion. You can keep the range also to 50 billion also. Yeah. In this. But I'll say, yeah, use 5 billion because this will save the memory also. Right? But yes, not that much big because 50 billion or 5 billion does not matter. But yes, you can use a counter and range, or you can, have the range which is up to 50 billion. Right. And then, this way you will not run out of the counter numbers also. You will be able to generate unique tiny URLs also, because yes, you may be deleting also some records. So this way, if you just keep 5 billion, it may not be sufficient. So use 50 billion. And it's only one counter. So even so it's not extra memory you are requiring. You are just you're storing one long integer value. Great. So with this, we come to end of our low level design, right? This is what you have to present in low level design. Any questions on this? This is class diagram is a UML diagram. So I see question from Nageshwar. This is our class diagram. This is your ER diagram. Yeah. How do you relate? What do you mean by that? UML diagram,
just I have
ER diagram, right? You
Yeah.
may draw a flow chart or sequence diagram also for this, but not required because here the logic is very simple. It's not that complicated. Yeah. Maybe you can, if you are using this random number generator option, you may draw a sequence diagram also that if database is wrong, the database is already having, okay, let's do that quickly. It will hardly take 2 minutes. Yes. But yes, you should understand. I will explain. And as we will be going through, you will learn about this. I'm drawing a sequence diagram also. Here you have a client. Yes. Client will make a call. Here you have the service, get URL service, get short URL service. Yes. Then get short URL will, you have a database. Yes. You will store, call the store method here. Here you will call get short URL. And in this, yeah, you may get failure, right? You may generate. Okay, I'll try to make this a circular. So this, yes, this is your random function. Right? So store. And if this is giving you error, then you keep it, you keep doing this again, right? Yes. Call this random function again. And yes. And then we store this. You make a call again, right? And in this case, you got success. Yes. I'll extend this. Yes, like this. And if you go, this arrow direction is different, have to draw like this. Yeah. And if it's success, then you give back the short URL to the client.
That is sequence diagram.
This is sequence diagram.
Yeah.
Right. So short URL you return. Why you return short URL? Because you have to display this in the UI so that you can copy and paste it to whatever blog post or tweets he want to share. So this is sequence diagram for generating the short URL. You can draw a sequence diagram for redirecting also for the other part also, because that would be simple. But yeah, let's do it. This is for get short URL. What if I have to do it for the other API, which is you have this, you have this, you have again database, because here this is, we call it get original URL. Then you have here client. So yes. So client will call this method. This is a method. Yeah, actually here we don't have, yeah, we have two service. So this is the name of the service and class. This is the name of the method. This will read the database. Okay, now cache right here. And then you have the database. Yes. So if present in the cache, we'll get original URL here. And this will call redirect. Yes. And if it is not present in the cache, so what will happen in this case? In this case, if it's not present, you will get error. Yeah. So no, not present. Assume you get this error, right? So this particular is not present in the cache.
Then in that case, we can also check in DB, right?
Yes.
Shouldn't
So
we go to check in DB that again?
yes, you have to then make a call. Then in this case, it will directly call here. Okay. So you have to consider all the scenario. That's very important. Yes. And then from the database, you will update the cache also, right? Update cache because we are using. And then it will also return this to original URL. Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
And-
we'll update in the
Sir.
cache in case if original URL exists.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. Third case could be it is not present in the database itself. Yes, what to do? Someone just typed in some random
Exception.
number. Yeah, you say that,
Exception.
okay, not present, invalid URL, right? Yeah, you have to give the error message invalid URL.
Yes.
Tarun, sir, I have one question. When it not present in the cache, will again the call come back to the application and make call to the database? Or
Yes,
from the
yes.
cache directly will it go to the database?
Cache is
instead
just
of,
cache is not intelligent enough. It does not have that capability to call, right? It will return to the server. Server will call the database. Cache is a storage. Yes. So it cannot make a call. You can consider it's a passive component.
Okay, then how application will maintain that initially it calls to the cache and where we did not get the response and now we have to make a call to database.
You always call the
Okay.
cache. And if the cache is not able to return you, then you connect to the database.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Tarun,
Because
Go
you
ahead.
know where is your database, the connection details will be there. Here is the cache, the application will know. Yes.
The first preference for the read calls would be cache. If not present, then we'll
Yes,
make a call.
it's
to
a
the
logic. It is how the logic of your
Yeah.
server.
But someone actually mentioned that if it is not there in the cache, then cache itself should be able to kind of call. I mean, that kind of feature, if it is there, that's really great because that's a general scenario which developer will actually do. Right.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So, I mean, if it is not available in the cache, they will explicitly call again back to database. And even though cache is already connected to DB, so that
But
means
then
cache
how
is
will, yeah, okay. You are saying, okay, cache should also call the database. So you have a server running on the cache also, which will make a call to the database and then it will find and then it will return, right?
Yes.
Could be there. You can do that as well. But you should understand that most of the calls will be hitting the cache only, right? Again, I would consider this over-engineering. Be very cautious. Because for 20% of the use cases, or for very less, see, 99% of the time you will be getting the data from the cache, right? For 1% or very less time when you will be missing the cache, why to have this additional feature? It is overcomplicating. You are adding cost.
yeah,
Yeah.
Tarun, I have
It is
one
a high
doubt.
scale application, thousands of servers and thousands of instances will be there. So just keep it as simple as possible, right? Don't get into the over engineering thing. Yeah, a lot of things are, but is it MVP? You have to launch this product. Assume you are the CEO or CTO of TinyURL. You may do this, but that may mean that one more month you have to develop something and deploy something, and you will get into more trouble, and business you will lose by the time you are implementing all this. Yeah.
Tarun, regarding this over engineering, I have one doubt. In real time, here we have calculations that we have this much of active users and this much of daily RPS and all those things.
Yes.
So based on that, we will know how many servers we will be having, whether to put load balancer or not. All these things we can know, right? But if I do not know the stats, like I'm starting a new startup or something, I don't have any of this data, how many active users could be and what are all these things. So if I design, do I have to like implement behind the load balancer in the starting days, the traffic is not that much, we can handle with one server.
Yes.
But let's say like after some days
you'll release one more version.
Yeah.
Yes. Got it. Yes.
So do we have to over engineer, or do we have to do we have to implement behind the load balancer in the first place, or do we have to implement after the load comes?
Yes, right. Yes, good question. Yes, assume your application is a super hit in the first launch itself. In maybe few days or months, you get millions of users. You don't have the time to release another version, and you will be missing out that opportunity. Yes. So always design in mind that you will be able to, with the single design, you'll be able to meet the need of all the users, right? So there are two people. One is you, who does first for 1,000 people. There's another architect who in the first attempt only does for 5 billion URLs, right? So in your case, you have to give multiple releases, right? So which is not always possible. It's very overhead. You will be building. So you may need more rework, because maybe in between you will realize, oh, some design is not scalable. So I would suggest always design considering the end result. Your architecture should be long-term. Your implementation could be short-term, but your architecture still has to be long-term. If you go to Google interview and you say, okay, I'll design for 1,000 user and then I will do that is not good answer, because in the first attempt, they expect you to build a system which is highly scalable, right? In real life, you may do it in some cases where you have to pilot the product or just put proof of concept, but eventually you have to scale to 5 billion users or millions of users. So why not do it in the first attempt? So as an architect, always design for the end result. Yes.
Yeah.
I just have to add to what you said there.
Yes.
Many a times from my experience, I've seen one would try to design things, but when you want to test, you might not have resources that much. So like what Tarun said, you design for the intended audience, but you can be very conservative in the sense you say you don't claim that you will support 5 billion or whatever. You could be conservative and say, this is intended for 1 billion. You could be conservative there because you don't know the system very well, but you should always go for the given target. Your claim could be very conservative.
Yes. Right.
Yeah. Then same goes with sharding, because sharding is, if you do in the beginning itself the sharding, thinking that scalability, then here it will be over engineering because sharding is complicated, right? Even with the 1,000 people, if we go with sharding and thinking scalability, then so I'm confused about when to
No,
over engineer.
yeah.
Over engineering, sorry,
Correct.
Ren,
Go
go
ahead,
ahead,
go ahead.
sorry.
No problem. Good to discuss among yourself. Yes.
I'm sorry, please go ahead. Sorry.
Now I'm saying, see, if you are reaching a limit which is lower than the system you are designing. Yeah. Designed to meet the requirement. I'll tell you. Okay. Now this is a philosophical discussion, or I would say it's a good discussion, architectural discussion. This is your requirement. Yes. Okay. I'm just trying to explain you in a very easy manner. You will also understand, because yes, this is very important for you to understand to answer any system design question. Assume the interviewer has given you this requirement. Yes. This is your design. Assume this is your design. Okay. This is wrong answer, right? You'll not get selected in the interview. You're not doing your task as an architect, because your design should meet the requirement. You have to clarify with the stakeholder. What is the requirement? If they say in the first release, requirement is to launch for 1,000 people. Okay, go ahead without sharding. If they say in the first release itself, design for 1 million users. Yeah, so you have to, right? How it should be to clear the interview. This should be your design. This should be your requirement, right? This is how you do. Bigger it is, better it is, right? This is not over engineering. Over engineering is about complicating things. It is not extensible design, is not over engineering. It is good design, right? So your design should be, because in future, you will always anticipate that there will be new requirements which will be coming. Yes. So your design should be able to deal with the new requirements also. So your design should meet 100% of the requirement, but it should also have scope for extensibility. Is this clear now?
Yeah, I'm thinking in terms of real life, not in
Yes.
terms of
So
interview.
in this question,
Yeah.
requirement is you cannot assume this is communication error. The interviewer will note that this person is not having good listening skills. I gave him the requirement that you have to build this site for 50 billion unique URLs. Yeah, earlier. And he has designed for 1,000. Right? Because maybe your requirement is in the first version itself. You have to meet this. So in system design interview, you never have to design like in first version, you will be doing proof of concept. They want you, how will you design in the first attempt itself for these many users, right?
Yeah.
Because big companies, Amazon and Google, Facebook, whatever product they will launch, they'll get this in the few days itself, these many number of users.
Yes,
right?
agree.
And
But
they are testing not for you to start a startup, but they are testing you whether you will be able to work in that high scale environment.
yeah, I understood. Like, let's say it's like my question is more often uh, not in the terms of interview, in terms of implementing things in a startup. Like, let's say I started a new startup, and I don't know the numbers, like what will be the estimations and all those things. So if I go with sharding in the first place and go with load balance in the first place, like I don't know the numbers.
Try to know, try to research, right? You should research it And you should have a business requirement person, right? Who will give you, or who will research this, he'll figure it out and give you that number. You have to research and then decide. If it's fine, if it is as per your requirement, you can do, right? Whatever is as per your requirement, you can do. No problem with that.
So forgive me, Arun. So are you, sorry, this is, you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but are you starting a startup? Is that what you said?
No,
If
I am
that's
not
the case,
starting a startup. I worked at a startup, and
okay,
there they gave me a task to build a service,
sure.
statistical service.
Yes.
During that time, I had this doubt
Yeah,
whether I
yeah. So I
have to
think great question. So typically,
implement behind
how
load
you would
balancer or not.
approach is, you would, if you don't have, you would at least know your competitors, right? Unless it is some, it's like a path breaking kind of a thing. So like Tarun was saying, one should know typically
Yes.
what is your audience that you want. So you see, it's just like this, right? It's just like an architect. You cannot come and say, build me a house. So the house is for a king, or is for somebody, who's just going to be a student, who's going to, so it depends, right? So so definitely, at least you should say, I want it like my neighbors or something like that, right? So I'm sorry for the wrong analogy, but you need those numbers. So because finally, you have to ask, saying, what are we willing to invest in? So are we good with having a lot of resources? What is that we want, right? So it's typically that's, so they will say, okay, this is what our initial thing is. So they would not have started a startup without knowing what market they are going to get in, right? So typically you would do that. And let's say if you're put into a spot saying, now you figure out, then you should ask, tell me my competitors at least. I will see what they have for me. So can I do that? Is that what they are doing? So somewhere you need that kind of a ask, or they have to come back with the numbers. Yeah,
Yes.
definitely that's something that has to be told. We cannot. So it's like, you just go and say, you go design. It's not like you have the whole earth to design, right? So you only have so much to do
Yes,
that.
I asked for the requirements to my manager. He told he just told the requirements in the air, like 4-5 requirements and all those things. Yeah,
right. So yeah, just focus on
relate.
this design. Other stuff we'll discuss, and I will guarantee you, as we'll go on with more and more similar exercises, more session, you will also understand what kind of thinking you should have while working in any startup or working in any large scale company. But yes, I will introduce you to various approaches. But yes, gradually have some patience, you will understand it. Don't worry. And we can keep discussing on this. Any other doubts related to the topic which we covered? Is clear? Just share how much percentage you understood this low level design. Is 90%, 80%, 20%, 10%, 0%, right? Okay. Post your queries also to me.
Yeah, Tarun, we haven't discussed the relationship type of relationship among the classes.
Classes, okay. There is only one relationship here. Here the class diagram is not that complicated. There is only one relationship, which is association. Yeah. You have shortener, you have encoder utility, which has the algorithm. Yes. You have DB utility, which will take care of the DB connection. Both are association, simple association. Yes. This could be static class also, and you are calling static methods also. Yeah. This is simple suggestion for how you will structure your code. Yeah, maybe now when we will be covering the design patterns, I will also give you strategy, more ways of putting the relationship between these, right? So the relationship is clear now. Clear? Okay. Yes. Okay. Nice. Great. Now we are almost done with the time also, overtime also. So I would suggest next class, we will take up all the questions. Yeah. Make a note of it. I have already shared this, okay, I'll be sharing in few minutes. I'll be uploading it in few minutes. I've already exported this sheet, and then you can kind of go through it, and we can discuss Q&A in the next class, because today it's already overtime. I don't want you to be awake. So just next class we will do this. Okay, see you. All the best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.